everyone that thinks that I go to hardcore shows think like, oh my god, is that even legal for you to, do that? Be so rowdy in the crowd. I'm just like, I mean, like, I guess so. I don't know.
Okay, I think we are good to go. If you are.
Hello. Yes, I am.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. This is another episode of the Scoped Exposure podcast. For the first time ever on this podcast, we are recording an episode on different days. So it is just after
Yes.
7 p.m. here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and it is 10,
About
11
10 a.m. on a Sunday morning,
in Singapore,
28 November
of
in
all
Singapore.
places. Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, we're going to be chatting with Dahl, who is the vocalist of Fuse. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast with
Yes.
me.
Of course, no problem.
Of course.
So excited.
I'm very excited as well. You're the very first Singapore guest I've had, but you're probably the furthest away from me. So yeah, I'm very excited to be
Yeah.
chatting with you. Obviously, we're going to be chatting about the band that you play in. But before we get super into that, can you just give me a proper introduction of, hey, my name is so and so, and this is the band I'm in, and this is where I'm based.
Okay, so my name is Dahliah, Dahl for short, and I I have a band called Fuse, which is like about like a 5-piece band. So I'm the vocalist for that. So we have been active for about 3 years now, since 2017 when we released our demo.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty much that's who I am.
Yeah. And
Today.
we're definitely going to be chatting about the awesome LP that you guys put out earlier this year. But before we get super into it, we got to do our scoped exposure bev check. So
Okay.
I'm thinking the drink. I was curious if the drinks were going to be drastically different because it's in the evening for me and the morning for you.
Yeah.
But it's kind of getting to the end of
What
the
do you
day.
have?
I have it's called, the brand is called Limitless. I don't know if you could see that.
Oh, okay.
So it's a
Oh.
lightly caffeinated sparkling water. So it's not like you're drinking a Red Bull and you want to punch holes in the wall, but it's not sparkling water and you're just gonna pee it out in 2 hours. So
Yeah,
it's kind
yeah.
of middle of the road. This is my favorite flavor. It's watermelon. So that's what I'm gonna
Ooh.
be drinking. But what do you got on your end?
I have a vitamin C water that I prepared for this morning.
Oh, okay. So is it just a powder or is there a mixture?
Yeah,
Is it
it's
a cocktail of a few
basically
things?
not sponsored. This is like a vitamin C tablet that you just put it in your water and it just fizzes out.
I got
It
you.
will just like dissolve. Yeah. So it's very refreshing. Like I love it so much for in the morning. So
Yeah.
don't forget a vitamin.
Yeah. Especially right now,
Yeah.
everyone's trying to dodge the COVID, but most people are forgetting about just,
Exactly.
the winter months and just the sniffly noses and whatnot. So yeah,
And
vitamin
I
C is
and I
just
have
as
like
important.
really bad immune system, so I need it.
Yeah. And you got it in the mason jar, which is just as good.
Yes,
Very
for
good.
the aesthetic purposes.
All right. Well, Dahl, I'm really excited to be chatting with you. Before
Yeah,
we
me
get
too.
super into it, I always ask my
Mm-hmm.
guests the same intro question. So
Okay.
just tell me how you got into punk, hardcore, heavier music overall. So take me back in time. Give me
Okay.
the Dahl hardcore origin story, and we'll start there.
Okay, so I'm 23 now. So I probably started going to shows like when I was uh how old was I? 16. Yeah, it was like in Singapore it's called like secondary school, which I believe is about in high school
Yep.
there. Yeah, so I s- I do not know why I started researching about Riot Girl movement, and I delved into a lot of like subcultures. I was like reading about it. I never knew what was it about. I never knew it even existed in Singapore because I feel like Singapore music scene is like non-existent. It's so small here. So I started researching. I was like, oh my god, this is like so cool. Like, there is such a movement that started back in the early days for like female rights and all those stuff. And I found out about Bikini Kill. Like, that's one of the first few like all female punk band that I knew about. I mean, as far as it goes, like growing up, I do listen to like some 41, Blink 182, and one of my favorite bands like Arctic Monkeys. So I was
Oh,
never
okay.
really like, yeah, like super into punk or hardcore. I just like grew up listening to like majority like Alexana, how do I pronounce it
Yeah,
there?
yeah, yeah.
uh,
I got
yeah.
you. Yeah,
Yeah, so when I started researching, and then I found on YouTube that Ready Girls from Singapore, like an all girl female band. So I was like, there's such thing in Singapore. So I was really intrigued, and that's when I started going for shows. And actually most of it is through like Facebook back then. um yeah, so when I first started, of course I was intimidated. I was just everyone there looks very scary and all those, but it was fun. Like after a while, like when I meet friends, then we started I was more into like the punk side before like delving into hardcore. And then like when I mix and like met new friends and all of that, that's when I started going to more hardcore shows.
sure.
So I guess yeah, it's about 16. So I don't know, it's about 6 years now. And yeah, five.
Yeah, right. No, that's very
Mm,
very cool to hear.
mm.
Can you? I was reading up on the No Echo interview that you did, and you were mentioning
Oh yeah.
Riot Girl as kind of being one of those early influences. Can
Yeah.
you, for the folks at home who might not know, is that a band or is that something entirely not a musical group, but kind of connected to the
Mm.
subculture?
Yeah, it's basically like a movement started uh I'm I might be wrong, but I think like the 50s,
Okay.
maybe 60s, 70s. Yeah. So basically that's where the women or the females started like stepping up, having their voices heard. And it's a movement for the rights of women.
I see.
And one of the first few bands that started is of course like Bikini Kill. So but they used it in a form of punk music.
Okay.
So like they are the ones that started being more rebellious on stage, like just wearing no pants on stage, just screaming. And back in the days, of course, it wasn't like a familiar thing. It wasn't normal. So everyone was just like a bit stunned about it, which makes it like more prominent, I guess. It stand out a lot. And yeah, that's something that to me really like intrigued me like so much, because I'm like, how did they even start? How they even like have like the bravery or like the boldness to like just fuck it, I'm gonna do this,
Right.
like as a group of females, and that's even more empowering.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty much it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and
Mm.
I think, maybe more in the last, 10, 15, even 20 years, there's been a huge shift in inclusivity
Definitely,
with
yeah.
girls in hardcore bands, in space, booking shows, booking festivals. There's definitely a lot of work still to be done on that front, but I think that there's a you're starting to see the shift now where it's not just one member of this band is a female, or now there's like bands with
Yeah,
more than half of the members are that, and I think that's the
correct.
right direction as far as you know being inclusive and showing that representation. So that's very cool to hear. So before we get too down that rabbit hole, can you just tell me the origin of Fuse? You mentioned the band started in 2017. Is
Yeah.
this your first band? Break down some of those things for me.
Okay, well, as I mentioned before, like I was more into the punk, so this wasn't my first band. Like I've already like played like guitar and all stuff when I was really growing up. So but I was just finding an outlet to do it. So I kind of my first band was a punk rock band. I was playing the guitar, so it's just like 3 piece kind of MXPX vibe that we want
Sure.
to go for.
Okay.
Yeah. So That was fun. I was the only girl back then, and I was like 16, so everyone there was like older. It was actually quite scary. So, but it was fun. Like I had a good time. So that's my first band, and then I played in a ska band as well.
Okay.
It's called Temasek Ska Dansa. I was playing the trumpet there, which was pretty interesting. But I didn't really last long because of the age difference. It was crazy, and then like I was just very uncomfortable. But playing ska was also one of the things that I like to do because I play the trumpet
Mm.
also in school. So
Oh, I see.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I was in a concert band. I
Yeah.
was a band gig.
Yeah.
So and then few started when I'm more into like the hardcore. I just like something even when I was younger, when I found out about this whole thing, like having like a female friends who are into the same thing was something that I really wanted. Like I have friends in school, like my best friends, but they're just never into all these like quote unquote like heavy music to them. They're just like, oh, this is like death metal or something. So they're it's not this
Right.
isn't like their path. So they were never really interested in what I've done
Hmm.
or what I'm doing at the moment. So when I started going shows, like the band members that I have, Fiza and Chef. So they're and I also have Maya, which was my ex-guitarist, but she just left. But these are the three girls or that I've met along the way. But to be honest, we started as acquaintances. None of us spoke to each other before. We just like saw each other at shows, just
Right.
hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like something because there's one time I'm just like, okay, I need to find people. I want to do this. Like I really want to do this. I cannot hold on anymore. So I just like started DMing Fiza first, my bassist. I was like, hey, are you interested? Blah, 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 to start like a girl band. I never even specified the genre because I don't even know what we want to play or I want to play. So, yeah, so basically I just like started sliding into their DMs and everyone just like, yeah, okay, sure, why not? Just for fun, this isn't something serious. And back then, Chef wasn't really active. She was just here and there. So, yeah, we started our jamming session. Our first jamming session was so shitty. It was really bad. We just wasted like 2 hours, because like in Singapore we don't really have garage like some people like we live in like apartments. So the
Right.
only
Right.
jamming places that we have is like a designated jamming place that we have to pay per hour.
Right.
Yeah, so for that 2 hours that we booked the jamming studio, it was just like, oh my god,
Yeah,
I didn't
things
know what
just
we were
didn't
doing.
click that time. Do you
Yeah, and
guys
because it's so awkward.
do you guys have basements that you can like jam in, or is it like not
No,
really
no.
underground? Okay, yeah. Yeah, because it's all over.
No.
It's all over the map here. Like people have garages. There's jam spaces that people do.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, yeah. That the
I mean, I've
infrastructure.
always wanted to try the garage jamming place, but yeah, none of us live in a landed property here, so all of us live in an apartment, and like our apartments are small, and there's noise complaints from neighbors, so no, we're
Right.
not allowed to do that. Yeah.
Okay.
So
So,
yeah, I mean,
uh, so sorry, I interrupted you. As far as so
yeah,
you
it's okay, it's
guys
okay.
did the jam session. It wasn't really going well.
Yeah,
So what happened next after that?
I mean, like, okay, first of all, like, the music background. I would safely say like both of them didn't have like okay, Fiza, both of them just played like acoustic guitar,
Oh, okay.
not like electric guitar, not like a like so it was it was like what do I say, like a baby step. Like everyone was just learning. It was very rookie, it was very amateurish. Um Only maybe like I only have like a proper experience in playing electric guitar. Like Chef didn't know how to palm mute back then, so it was really funny though. uh yeah, it was really funny, and that is like to me it's more, I guess it's like more substance for me because like everyone started like from nothing.
Right.
Everyone just everyone learn and grow just from being infused itself. I mean, looking at Chef now, she can play, like she really can play, she can even write
Okay.
songs
Yeah.
better than I do back then. Yeah, so from not knowing how to palm mute, even like her power chords, everything was just nah. We can so back then when we were trying to write songs, it was very difficult. And back then our drama was also like kind of a beginner type. So we are really restricted. We are very limited to what we want to do. So trying like, okay, what kind of sound do we want? Like most of us don't really we don't have like a specific uh way that we want to go, like direction. At first we wanted to play like more like youth crew, because I also like I suggested why not play like Gorilla Biscuits or something. And then like another half like they want to play noise, like another half like okay I want to play heavy, but with all those technical skills that we are lacking, we couldn't do much. So it took a while to like I guess like experiment our sound.
Sure.
So it took actually about 1 year after before we released like our promo tape back then. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
that's
but
pretty much our first what is called experience being in a band.
yeah, but those beginning stages, especially if you've never jammed with those people, like
Mm-mm.
it takes time to like figure out like everyone's
The
skill
chemistry or
level,
everything,
the
right?
chemistry.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
The band that I play in, even past projects, it seems it always was a year of like the first jam to like either the first show or the first
Mm.
you know drop of music. It always,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
for me that's always kind of almost good that it's like, okay, we wrote out some of the really bad songs that we wrote or things like that, and we really like made sure it was good to send out to the public, so to
Yeah, yeah,
speak.
yeah.
But yeah, like were you kind of discouraged at the beginning that things weren't going, and were there thoughts of
Actually, it
like
was
do I
like,
want to
yeah,
stick this
after
out?
the
Yeah.
first our first jamming like after our first jamming session, I was like, you know, like can we really do this? Can like because from my experience as well, uh being in a band with like other more advanced male musicians, really, it was just very quick. Like everyone, okay, I want to play this, I want to play this, then just piece it together and become something. But now it's just like, okay, I have to teach you like how to like strum, like and all those stuff. So I was kind of yeah, I was doubting it at first, but after a while, it just became like a fun process. Like we went to each other's house because okay, like after that we decide like jamming would be like after we are ready. So we went to each other's house to like we call it like session. So me and Chef would just jam with our guitars first, trying to figure out okay, this is gonna play, this is gonna play. So it's like literally like step by step.
Yeah, you
And
were
then Fiza,
right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So Fiza, I mean, bass. I mean, as much it wasn't that difficult, I guess, but it took a while for her to be more smooth. So yeah, as in like everyone's just learning and learning like after like 1 year, and of course like we had some help from like friends around like have giving their opinions, especially like Nerd from Losing End. He was also there to help out and like give out suggestion, like maybe you would do this, and yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And I think
much
it's really like if the first jam doesn't go well, like obviously it would be way easier, like you were saying, to just like, oh, I know these guys who like have tons of experience, but if the whole point of you, forming this band, this all girl band, and
yeah.
just like having that be the focus, it like it was kind of like, yeah, it is worth it to like meet up with one another and like just, you know, take like baby steps to getting there.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
now that you guys have seen that through, the overall like just like success of that is really really cool and tremendous, honestly. So that's
yeah, I
very
guess
very awesome.
it's like worth it. It was worth like all the slow advances that we've been doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like that whole the turtle is going really really slow and the rabbit just
Yeah, yeah,
rushes
yeah.
and then passes out or
Yes.
goes to sleep. So,
Yeah,
no, I think good things take time and meaningful things take time. So, I'm really, it's interesting to hear on
yeah.
um how green everyone was,
Yeah.
but how much everyone wanted to make it work, and you guys did make it work, and that's very very cool. Um,
Yeah. Thank you.
so the most recent thing, like I was saying at the beginning, is you guys put out an LP. this year,
Really?
which I usually, on the day of recording a podcast, I usually listen to the guest's music so I can kind of get my head wrapped around it.
Mm,
But
yeah.
yeah, there is just so much good music on it. So I would love for you to
Ah,
share just
thank you.
like you know, the the overall message of the album, how that, you know, the recording process, and the response of how that has projected outside of Singapore as well.
Well, okay. First, we okay, I would say like the whole EP was a definition or like a representation of Fuse from for 3 years, like from being an amateur to like the meat side and now like trying to make our own sound because
Mhm.
there are songs inside that hasn't that was us for like years and because we didn't get the chance to release a demo. So our first few songs were like, okay, where do I put this now? Like I just want to get it out. So just like,
Right.
okay, let's just chuck it in. I'll just chuck it in the EP. And there was a mixture of like how do we sound back then and also about how we we want to sound now. So I guess that the contrast really makes it more special, especially for our first EP for me. Um, so the writing process, I guess, like I said, I think there are about 3 songs or 4 that was like with us the way before our debut, and then like another 3 or 4 more that is like more fresh, I guess. And okay, but to be honest, like half of the songs that I don't even like because it was so long ago. It was just like back then when we don't even know how to play music, just like but because we have to put it somewhere, right? Like
Right.
if not, we have been playing it live, so I'm just like, okay, why not just put it in here? But I'm more proud of like I guess the current music that we're doing. Like for example, Vexed, Deadlock, that those songs, it's is to show like how much we've improved, I guess. So
Definitely. Yeah.
as a whole, I because I'm the one who writes lyrics and like the music itself is like a what is it called collective effort. So for the lyrics wise, to be honest, none of them even know what I write about
Right.
because I write it on my own. Yeah.
Right.
So um, I guess a message like it falls under like a whole theme and like even the title suggests like segregation and it's basically about like the world, all the wars about society, about like conflicts and all those basically all in that category. I write things like at the moment I'm just like when I read a news and I'm like, oh my god, like I just want to say something because I just want to put my opinion, I guess, in it. And songs that represent like third world countries that like killing children, female aren't allowed to go to school, those kind of things, which is pretty very upsetting for me because I know, like, I mean, of course, at this day and age, like for us, everyone deserves to do what they want to do, and it's just upsetting that like there are still people in the same year as us, but like way far behind because of the government,
Mhm.
maybe like the way they're developed and all that stuff. So yeah, I guess like that is the kind of message as a whole for the EP to just talk about like these things that I feel people should talk about more instead, having like internal conflicts between like the scene and all those stuff. I just wanna you guys have to talk about this. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, I really like that. You know, the whole idea of, you know, there's the left and the right, and you know this
Yes.
this side of the coin and the other, and a lot of those things could come to the center if people were having open and honest and fruitful
Yeah.
conversations. But 9 times out of 10, people get emotional, people scream, people, you know,
Sensitive.
yeah,
Yeah.
it just becomes
Yes.
messy. And you know, I definitely think that I've done my best with this podcast to just create topics that people can talk about and express, and
Hmm.
and you know, like people have messaged me being like, your podcast is the only one they actually learn stuff from. But and I think it's important,
Yeah, that's good.
hardcore overall shouldn't just be like talking about the cool mosh riffs and the cool show stories. Like there should
Yeah.
be substance around what we're doing. I'm having flashbacks to when I had there's a band from Denver in the States called Fom, and their vocalist Kat was just talking
Mm.
about how hardcore overall needs to be more political because moshing and saying dummy stuff into a microphone is all good and dandy, but a
Yeah.
lot of what we fell in love with was talking about things that were messed up in our society, things that
Yeah.
were going on in the
Yeah.
world. And hardcore, I would say, is pretty good at recognizing those things and raising awareness and money, but it needs to be at the forefront constantly. So I really like that album title and how that applies to, not just, things that happen in hardcore, but also things that happen in the rest of the world. That's very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, which is to me is very important because we are all sharing the same world.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I mean, I wouldn't be delusional to think like, okay, maybe like equality will happen in the next 2 years because
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, like the higher powers, oh, not higher powers, sorry, the like the the powerful people are the ones
The big
that
wigs. Yeah.
eventually, yeah, the big wigs eventually have like the ultimate decision about how the world's going to be at. But I mean, everyone's everyone's like say, everyone's opinion is very important, and the fact that even in a small community that we talk about it, it will make a difference because first step to change is, I guess, awareness. So to me, even like back then, I wasn't even aware about all of this, but because I read up and I feel I want my friends around me to know about what's going on. It's like, did you know like this happening, blah blah blah, and like, oh, okay. And then they will feel, of course we will feel like affected by it because all of us are humans, and it's just the fact that the people from the other side of the world is just experiencing a whole different way, a different thing. I know we're enjoying a very privileged life here,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, it's very important to know, like, I guess it's just being human.
Yeah, for sure.
Being aware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little bit of a, it's like a me or something.
Ah,
I don't
okay,
know.
sorry. In Singapore, we have this like called Karang-Guni. So basically, like this man just goes all around the neighborhood collecting recycled things. So he would just like keep
Oh,
honking. Yeah, early in the morning. Sorry.
no, that's okay. I've been over at people's apartments and the guys are doing the squeegee on the windows or whatever. I was like,
Yeah,
I don't
just
know if
different
that's
weird
like
things happening.
a train in the background or something, but
Ah.
no, I do think that there is like, yeah, just there's been lots of conversations that people talk about, as far as changing things in hardcore for the better, whether it's
Mm.
making it more inclusive for females or non-binary people or things around that. Having stuff that's not just like, hey, here's a show and let's talk about it. It's like, hey, here's this event, there's no bands playing, but we're all just gonna talk and people are gonna
Yeah, yeah,
express.
yeah.
I think that's really important, and I think it's obviously that's not happening at a wide scale just with lockdown and whatnot. But I do think that
Yeah.
people need to have this podcast is a way that people can at least talk about it, and people that are willing to listen can like sit down and just be a sponge and absorb the conversation. So I think that there needs to
Mm-hmm.
be just like a constant like, okay, we all like to jump off of stages and like cheer for our friends, but we also need to be aware
Mm-hmm.
that we need to be better than the world that we're all going to be going out to after this
Yes.
show wraps up.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, moshing, you know, like grabbing the mics are all just like this is just like 20% of like hardcore shows. But 80% of it is like people stay because they feel like I can relate to this.
Right.
you know yeah, people feel like an outcast. Sometimes people feel like, oh, they want to, there is like a queer band, LGBT pro band. They're just like, okay, I want to support this, like I believe in this message, so I want to stay. I mean, so it's just not just all about the hardcore dancing, like
Yeah.
literally all the
Right.
normies thought it is like everyone that thinks that I go to hardcore shows think like, oh my god, is that even legal for you to, do that, be so rowdy in the crowd? I'm just like, I mean, I mean, like, I guess so. I don't know.
I think with quarantine and all that, right now it technically would be illegal, depending where you live in the world,
Yeah,
to
I mean, of
have a
course.
show and be at a gathering or whatever. But yeah, no, I think I think that's very. I think it's very. I've talked about it before, where I think the energy of hardcore shows and the violence and all of that gets people in the door, but what like locks people in is
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
stuff that vocalists are saying in between songs, the messages on the shirts being like, oh, like what's this saying about cops, and then you learn, oh, okay, well, blah blah
Mm,
blah, and then it just goes,
yeah, I
it
agree.
kind of galvanizes things in a way. I did
Mm-hmm,
want to
mm-hmm.
talk with you, Dal, just about being a you were mentioning earlier in the podcast, but also in your interview with No Echo, just when you first were going to shows, there was like almost zero to no other girls or females
Mm,
in
mm-hmm,
the
mm-hmm.
at the shows or even in the band. So how has that have you seen a shift since starting Fuse? I think having that representation makes it so if I'm just I'm just at the show for the first time or the 10th time, the 100th time, whatever, but I can see someone that I can relate to, either just how I look or how I feel, whatever it is. How important has that representation been for you in your own scene?
Well, yeah, back then, there wasn't like, I mean, I would say like it wasn't zero, but like a handful of girls that I saw at gigs like often, and most of them are just like older than me, and like I previously said, like radicals. They are just like one of the just one active female all girl band that is happening when I was just starting to go shows, and like every time on stage is mainly or just all men, like everywhere is men. Um, I guess like of course I think about starting about last year or 2018, just started like almost every gig there's new faces. It's just like, whoa, okay, like I've never seen you before, and it's so cool. And then like it just keeps growing and growing, and I don't know, maybe it's the social media or what that make it like more accessible to people to like, okay, what's this, I want to come, like I want to go down there,
Yeah.
and like enjoy. Yeah, which is like when I was just starting going to shows, it was more not difficult, but it's just like it's not as accessible. And then when I go there, I'm just like, what is this environment? I felt very intimidated. Even like actually when I went to my first show, I only survived till the front door, and then I left home because I'm just like, it was too scary for me because I was
Oh,
quite
damn.
young and I was alone. Yeah, it was like, I don't know, maybe it's just like the aura that everyone's like going, just like, standing there looking fierce with all their merch. And just like, okay, never mind, I'm just gonna go. But anyways, yeah, like everyone's just going, like new people are going to shows with their friends, and their friends' friends, and everyone just keep growing and growing and growing. And of course, there's like a lot more, like so much more girls here that is, I mean, I would say they don't even necessarily like hardcore, they don't even know what hardcore is, but they just like, I'm gonna check this out, and then
Yeah.
they'll just fall in love with it, and just like discover it right after. So yeah, which is, I guess, like representation in some way or somehow it affects or like it makes an impact. Because
For
to
sure.
me, having radicals as my representation makes me want to go to shows and makes me want to have a band.
Mhm.
So I guess it goes the same way with how now we have Fuse, which is also not necessarily it's like a all girl band. Like my drummer is a male. Um, but we just still doing our thing that we want to do, and being, I guess, just being on stage, being confident, being comfortable about what we do and what we say makes people like, like, I guess more comfortable,
Yeah.
having a more of a familiar thing on stage for them to relate to. Yeah, so I guess it is very important.
Yeah, yeah, it is really cool because, yeah, I think that they're in most, North American, Canada or the States, there's, maybe the there might be like a number of girls who are going to shows, but sometimes there's like one, two, maybe three girls who are playing in bands, that the girl who
Yeah,
plays
yeah,
bass
yeah.
or whatever. And now you're starting to see, like, I think it's really cool that, you know, the majority of your band is female, and that
Mm.
has just, you know, even if someone's not into hardcore, they're like, oh, this is really cool. Like, I was talking to my wife's coworker, who I know is not into hardcore or punk music at all. And I was like mentioning I was doing
Mm.
this podcast, and she was like very, very excited to listen. Shout out to Chelsea if you're listening. But
So cute.
yeah, she was like, I'm like, as soon as I said, I'm like, yeah, it's a mainly female hardcore band in Singapore, and she's like, that sounds fucking cool. I'm definitely going to be checking that out. And so I think it's like, it's important to you know, not like think of these musicians as like these token members of your hardcore scene, but just like empowering them, and just like getting stoked for
Mm.
them, but also just like thinking about the just like the other people that are doing stuff, that's not your just like white, like dude, like five guys in a band, like always
Yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
not on the hunt for just like diversity, but like kind of being aware of that, because I think a lot of bands that are all male seem to just like shoot up a little bit faster than maybe some other bands. Like, there's all
Mm-mm.
these dumb factors in my opinion that kind of like restrict bands, like, so yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, um, I guess uh being on stage also, I mean, it's quite humbling to hear, like, sometimes people say like, okay, because I heard you, and like, I feel like I want to pick up an instrument now. I want to make a band. Hey, it doesn't necessarily to have like to be like an all female band. It can be like maybe just you
Yeah.
as a female and the rest all of your friends. It can be anything, but just the fact that anyone can feel like, now I want to do this. Now I want to make a band. Just like makes it more, I guess, like more fruitful to be, because I'm not just making music, I'm not just like representing just like female, but it's everyone. It can
Yeah,
be a
for
male or
sure.
female, can be anyone. Yeah.
Yeah. I had my friend Corey from Boston come on the podcast, and he's I'm sure if you've watched any Hate 56 video, you've probably seen him like moshing and flipping on people. But he was mentioning like, you know, Jesus Piece is a pretty like well-known band all over the world, but he was
Mm-mm.
saying when he saw them at This Is Hardcore, he was just moved by the amount of black brothers and black bodies overall who were moshing
Yeah,
for
yeah,
Jesus
yeah,
Piece.
yeah.
And so, you know, Jesus Piece has played hundreds and hundreds of shows, but, you know, just that, you know, for people to just feel connected to that band through who's represented, and
Yeah.
just like showcase that was, you know, the fact that Sunny also captured it is also really, really cool. So I do think that it's really
Yeah.
important that it's not just this like, I think that there's a weird balance of like, there's gonna be people that don't feel represented, and they're just gonna be like, fuck you, I'm gonna do my thing, and
Mm-hmm.
have this kind of band, or this you know, these individuals in my band. And then there's other people that do need to to have that, not inspiration, but to see that like, oh, like I could do that too, you know, almost that
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah. I agree.
unsaid thing. Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, some people just need a push.
Yeah, a push.
Just like,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, I guess I think like the feeling of really relating to like the people on stage, just being comfortable with what you're saying, just like uh, because I guess for us, it's safe to say like all of us, like in the girls in the band. Oh my god, sorry, I can't function. The girls in the band, we all don't look fierce. I guess like we all just we still like girly things. All of us. Like Fiza love Hello Kitty. Like I love pink. I like to dress like in dresses and all those stuff. Like I mean, yeah, chef as well. And but we still play like I say like hardcore punk, being in our own skin. Like we don't even have to like for this day I'm gonna dress up like so fucking fierce. I'm gonna like just wear this like very like a hardcore merch. Like
yeah,
sometimes I play in the show in like in a blouse. that I want to wear. So yeah, just really being comfortable. Like you do not have to be. We always say this, like we do not. You do not have to be fierce to play hardcore.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
I
you
want to
can be
hard
like
hard echo that.
anyone.
And arguably every tough guy hardcore is like the biggest softy on the inside and probably listens watches all the Sailor Moon and Hello Kitty that they can get
Yeah,
their
yeah,
hands
yeah.
on.
Exactly.
I
But
do.
it's just like
Sorry,
so
you go.
annoying. Like it's okay. When back then when there's not enough like girls in the scene, and just like all the guys wearing these very like big L shirts, big golden L shirts, and just like having tattoos. Like some of them are just even skinny, but they want to appear fierce because they want to
Right.
mosh. And it's like, oh my god, stop it! Like shut up. Like you don't have to, just like relax, enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah, like obviously there's going to be historical things that maybe are more girly or more for boys, but I
Mm,
think
mm,
now
mm,
it's
mm.
kind of getting, just like whatever the fuck you want and just
Yeah, it's just getting intertwined.
don't.
Like everyone's just enjoying.
Yeah. And and
Yeah.
and if you are seriously in 2020, 2021, if you're listening to this in a little bit of the future with like feeling
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable of a girl wearing a dress, a blouse, what have you, like give your head a shake. Like there's bands with guy vocalists who like will strip naked or they'll play without a shirt,
Yeah.
and you have to consider like, does that make anyone else in the room uncomfortable? Probably. So I think just like normalizing, just like people are gonna people play in bands and play music to express themselves. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's for them. It's not for you. So
Yes,
fucking
I
chill out.
agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean for myself as well, like I mean, all of us don't we're not really like that expressive, I guess, but when on stage we're just like okay, like suddenly I'm just this person. Like people who know me, like my friends who aren't in hardcore, like when they hear my record, they was just like, "Oh my god, is that you?" I was
Right.
like, "Yeah."
Right.
Like, I mean, that's just the other side of me that, like, I just wanna shout and all this stuff. But yeah, on the outside, I'm just a very normal person.
Mhm.
You know, I just I'm just enjoying like all the little things in life, like vitamin C water, going to work, not like just yeah, it's just and everyone's just like, oh my god, like I couldn't believe that it's just you. Like, how can like a girl scream like that? Or like they're just I guess which also makes me feel like yeah, like now like we can do this as well. It's not just guys can scream and growl like their asses
Right.
out,
Yeah.
everyone can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, the typical like, oh, I had a rough childhood and now I'm a hardcore vocalist and I'm
Yeah,
tattooed and I do like
yeah, yeah,
prison
yeah,
push-ups all day. It's like that, like those people exist, don't get me wrong, but 9 times out of 10, a
yes.
lot of the people that put on a front actually are just probably just normal dudes, and you can go up to talk to
Yeah,
them or
yeah, yeah,
whatever.
which I totally agree. Yeah, like some people like feel that they need to be like in that in that state where they like feel outcast and all those stuff, like I guess maybe back in the days, but now it's because I feel hardcore or actually everything is more accessible now because of social media. Like, anyone from any walks of life, like you can be like coming from a wealthy family, you can come from like here and there and everything, and you just come to hardcore. I mean, as long as you just be humble, just not be a douche, like everyone's just enjoying themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure back in the day of, when Madball was first coming up and all those like New York hardcore
Mhm.
legendary bands, if you threw on like a band like See You Space Cowboy or Wrist Meets Razor, they would throw you out the door. But like nowadays, people are like stoked that, people from those subgenres are coming to hardcore shows and moshing just
Yes,
as
yes.
hard. So I think it's, you know, the overall like hardcore's changed. Like I think it's changed for the better. So I think
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
definitely.
I mean, I guess it's just like more diverse now.
Yes,
It's
yeah,
more fun.
yeah,
It's just an enjoyable place to be instead of like feeling you're being judged
right.
for not being hardcore enough.
Am I like
Yeah.
slouching enough or whatever?
Yeah, it's like is my merch like is my merch hardcore enough for this? Those kind of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Dahl, I definitely wanted to, I'm sure a lot of people listening are interested,
Mm.
just like, you know, being on literally the other side of the world, being in Singapore is really intriguing. I've never been to that part of the world, and it's really cool to see, not only through you guys, but like some of the shows and like videos that the band has been tagged in. You guys have a scene and things are going well.
Yeah.
Just as far as like, sometimes I'm always curious on what's harder, if it's harder for bands to come play Singapore, or if it's harder for bands from Singapore
Um.
to come here, because it's kind of, I feel a little spoiled being in Canada, because it's just like we are on the same landmass, and we just have to drive across the
Mm-hmm,
border. But for any band outside of that, hub center of hardcore music, you have to get on a plane and actually fly there. So
yeah.
yeah, tell me about, like,
Well,
yeah, what's more difficult in your opinion?
I think in my opinion, like it's easier for people from the States or like, from other countries to come to Singapore, or in Southeast Asia in general.
Yeah.
Because first of all, the currency, it's like it's way cheaper to come here than for us to go there. So like last year July, I went to Sound and Fury in Los Angeles. So that was my first time ever going to States, and it was hella expensive, but but it was worth it. Like I saved up for it, like I was working and all that, and I was just like, I'm so excited because first of all, for the first time there was a list of the bands that I really want to watch like for so long, and I was so excited to see Firewalker. Like I've always loved them so much, and then yeah, it's just like a chunk of bands that, well, I've been wanting to watch them for like the longest time. Now they're here, like everyone
Right.
in one show. It was very convenient because like of course, like the majority of like the bands also came from US, for UK or whatever. Everyone's just like nearby, so it's so easy to like watch all the bands that I've always want to watch. And yeah, well, I guess um sorry, I'm blanked out for a while.
No, that's
Oh yeah,
okay.
so I mean, yeah, as I
So
was saying, like
easier for
it's
bands to
easier.
go to Singapore.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
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 I mean, as compared to like for the moment I'm going to shows, there's so many international bands coming. Like there's Backtrack, there's like All for All for Nothing. There's like Wolf Down. There's so many gigs that I went like this when international bands having their Asian tour.
Hmm.
So as compared to like for us as a band, even to like tour there, I mean for vacation wise or whatnot, I mean it's easier, but like to perform is like a whole different story. So like I guess like there's only like a handful of Singapore bands that tour the world. Like hardcore itself, the only ones that I know is like probably Losing End. They have been into the US and UK and whatnot, like everywhere. And then the other Singapore bands are like from different scenes, I guess. Is from punk scenes or like the scram scenes.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's, yeah, it's just like it's really, you can literally count with your hands. So
Yeah.
for us, even like we were supposed to actually like tour UK like December this year, so it's like next month.
Hmm.
But of course, because of COVID and all that stuff, we couldn't happen. But I guess now, like the fact that we also have Ola from quality control, is also easier for us to have to arrange like a whole set of tour on the other side of the world, which is also I was really looking forward to it because I feel traveling really changes you as a person. Like it really opens
Yeah.
up your mind. Yeah, like regardless of where you go, it can be like just a neighboring country, but just the fact that you're just living outside of your like comfortable environment makes you feel like, oh, like there's so many things out there, and it makes you learn things, and when you learn things you just like you grow.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was really looking forward to that, but it's just like a bum, like now everywhere is just locked down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you that, I think the more of the world you see, the more you realize how insignificant you actually are. Cuz
Yeah,
like,
because you're just small.
yeah, yeah, cuz living in Alberta, we're on like a huge mountain range. So like literally I'll see the mountains on my
Ooh.
drive to drop my wife off, or we're going to
Ah.
get our Christmas tree actually tomorrow, and it's just like you drive up and you're like, I'm nothing compared to this giant mountain. And there's probably millions of mountains all over the world. But yeah, I
Yes,
think
yes, yes.
I think it's really cool that that you guys had that opportunity to do the UK, and hopefully that comes to fruition. Once
Yes, I
shows come back. I'm sure. You know, I For me it was always like anytime a band was like, yeah, we like we're from here, and then I'm like in my math, like in my math, I'm doing the math in my head about like
in my head.
how far away that person is from home and how
Mm-mm-mm.
like special that is. So I hope that any plans that you guys have, to kind of properly celebrate this recent release, it's just the best times for you, because yeah, I think that's very, very sick.
Yeah, it is. We're just like trying to take advantage of like all the fun things that we are able to do now because um yeah, I feel like, growing as we grow older, there won't be like more, because we're becoming more adults. There's so many other commitments, and in Singapore, like it's the what do you call it? The it's very high cost of living. If you don't work and if you're just probably freelancer, you can't survive. So it's very important for us to like I guess be stable. That's like I think that's the word, being stable here. Yeah, to even enjoy like the little things like traveling as well. Yeah, so yeah, talking about traveling as well, like when I when I went to the States, that was like the longest flight I've ever been on. It was about 16 hours. And for the first 2 days that I was there, I was just so tired.
Right. Yeah. You were jet
I
lagged
couldn't
beyond belief.
function.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I guess like the more interesting thing about like going to the other side of the world is the fact that like the weather wise, because I don't know if y'all know, but like Singapore is like known to be like a hot country, or like Southeast Asia in general. When I say it's hot, like I mean it's really hot. Like we only have two seasons, which is sunny and rainy, which is now because it's of the monsoon season from the other countries. So like we're having like every day is like raining here, and other parts of the year is very sunny. So but when I was in the States, like especially in California, when they say it's hot, like to me it's like, oh my god, this is nothing. Like how could you say this is hot? Have you been to Singapore? Yeah, but it's just like, I guess like the sun rays is different because in Singapore, if it's hot you will sweat because it's like humid.
Right.
But there you don't
It's
sweat. I
dry.
can still wear, yeah, it's dry. Like, I can
Right.
still wear a sweater and not sweat. But it's very painful when the sun hits the skin, like you get sunburn. I don't know, it's just very weird. It's just like so interesting to me.
I would.
Like,
It's sorry to cut you off, but
yeah, yeah, yeah.
where I grew up, it was very, very humid. So the summer months were like you would
Ah.
open your apartment door and take a step, and you're like hit with a wall of just wetness,
Sun.
and
Oh,
you're just,
yeah.
yeah, it's so gross. And then moving to Alberta, it's very, very dry, so I don't have that, and I prefer this
Ah.
way more than what you have as far as humidity wise, because you just feel wet all the time and
Yeah,
hot,
yeah,
and it's
yeah.
gross. Yeah.
Really, like sometimes when I go out, I have to bring an extra shirt because I'm just like
Yeah.
sweating. Oh my god. Yeah,
I,
but now I'm just like I'm just enjoying the raining season. Like every day when I wake up, I'm just like, oh my god, it's so cold. It's very rare. Or to be honest, like probably I don't know if it's like global warming or what, but
yeah.
Singapore isn't this cold ever. So I'm
Mm.
just like, so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that has somewhat of a part to play. I have to ask, just because I live in Canada, so like there's
Mm.
snow on the ground here. So have you ever seen snow before?
Mm. No, actually I have
Oh,
not.
okay.
I'm so bummed because like yeah, like going for tour like in December, like I was really looking forward to. I've
Oh, you
always,
would have,
in
yeah,
Singapore,
in the
yeah,
UK
it'd be
for
so
sure.
cool.
Yeah.
Like I've always wanted to like layer my clothes. I've always like wanted to wear like winter coats or like winter boots. It's like so cool when I see people do that, but we don't do it here.
Literally
I
every
I
Canadian
I
is like, you are not missing out on anything.
I mean, like, okay, because when I was in for Sound and Fury, apparently it was summer going to spring.
Yeah.
So I was like, I was really prepared, like wearing shorts and all those stuff. When back there, when I went there, it was about 14 degrees, and to me, that's really like it was freaking cold. Like I was having like I mentioned, I have like very bad immune system, so I have sinus like 24/7. And over there, like my nose was bleeding because I kept sneezing because it was so cold. And like
Your nose
everyone
was
out there is
bleeding
just
because you
wearing
were
like
sneezing so
sleeveless.
much, man.
Yeah, I was sneezing so much. Like, maybe it's the jet lag. And then
Yeah, sure.
it was so cold, and I was already like wearing t-shirts, and it's like fuck, I never even bring enough sweaters. I don't even bring enough jackets. I can't live in this.
Yeah.
And I went out, and everyone's wearing sleeveless shirts. Like, what the hell? I was like,
Do
so
you
cold.
guys do Celsius or?
Yeah, degrees Celsius.
Oh, okay, so you're a
Degrees
normal
Celsius.
person.
So I
All
don't
the
know.
Americans like
I know,
Fahrenheit
right?
and
Yeah,
miles.
yeah,
It makes no sense to me.
yeah. No,
There's so
no.
many. Yeah, I'm sorry to offend any of the American
Yes, yes,
listeners,
yes.
but yeah, when people are like, "Oh yeah, it's like 54 degrees," I'm like trying to do the math in my head. I'm like, "Can you just
Yeah,
say like a negative like
in degrees.
20?" Because that's
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
It
yeah,
hasn't
yeah.
been that bad here yet. Today was actually pretty good. I think it's like -3 right now.
Is it like, has it started snowing there?
Yep, yep. Yeah, we get
Ah, so
like
cool.
Calgary because we're close to the mountains. We get like random like like cold passes. Like any weather nerd is gonna
Yeah,
kill me in the comments. But yeah,
yeah.
we get Chinook, so we'll get snow at random times in like late September, October. So it
Oh,
can it but it works in our favor. It could be in the middle of January, and then we'll get a warm front, and all the snow will be gone for like 3 days, and then we'll get back to winter. So it's very strange on
oh,
how
okay.
things work here. But
That's cool.
yeah. Yeah, maybe Fuse can come through Canada. I would love to make that happen,
Oh my God,
honestly.
I've always wanted to go to Canada. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just the snow. Like, I've always like, it's so cool. Like, I've always wanted to go there, but it's so far. It's like
Yeah.
even further than going to Los Angeles. Is like crazy up in the north. So
Right.
yeah, but maybe someday,
Yeah. Yeah,
hopefully, if I really
maybe
want
we'll
to.
start you in Vancouver, which is kind of on the coast, and then work your
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
way or something. But yeah, we'll
Yeah,
figure that
yeah,
out.
it's so cool.
Well, Dal, we should probably start to wrap up the podcast here.
Yeah.
The last question that I ask all of my guests is a favorite Mosh story that they would like to share. So that doesn't necessarily need to be like something that happened to you or that you a crazy Mosh move that you did. Whatever's the very first thing to your mind is how we'll kind of wrap it up.
Okay. Now, like at the top of my mind,
Yeah.
when you say about crazy Marsh stories, like, basically for some reason I do not know why. Whenever I stage dive, nobody caught me and nobody catches me, so I just keep falling to the ground. So there's one time at like a show. Luckily, like the stage wasn't that high,
Okay.
but just so embarrassing. It was so embarrassing, like when I was like trying to go to the other side, and then from a video, like because I watched it from a video, it looks even funnier because I literally it looks like I dip into like a black hole and I was
Yeah,
just
you
gone.
just disappear.
Yeah, it just disappear, and like the fact that everyone's just like stop and stare, just like, oh my god, sorry.
Were people not catching you because it was not a hardcore band, or why was that, or what was happening?
um Lack of people in the front, I guess. They're probably just at the wrong timing. I don't know. Back then I was
Oh,
just
okay.
like, yeah, I don't know.
There's
But
been
it's
a
so
plethora
embarrassing.
of those moments where I'm watching any hardcore set, and there's just one person that like just disappears, and I'm
Look,
like, oh,
yeah, it
I
just
don't know.
disappear.
That's
Yeah,
very funny.
but then next thing I know, like I have a big bruise on my hip because
Right.
I felt like, yeah, I felt not on my bum, like on my hip. So it's just like, oh my god, I'm never doing this again. It's so cool.
Well, Dahl, this has been really great. I'm a big Fuse fan myself, and I do
Thank
hope that
you.
we'll be able to cross paths officially one day, whether I'm coming out to Singapore to film a set or you're coming out here to play. So either
Yeah,
one would be rad for me. Is there
of
any
course.
plugs that you want to share? Anybody that you want to shout out? Anywhere that you want to send people after this podcast? The floor is yours for whatever you want to send people off with.
Okay, well, first you can check out Fuse on Spotify or Bandcamp or Instagram. Just say Fuse Hardcore. And I want to give a shout out to my boyfriend's brand label. It's called Youths in Balaclava. It's available in Dover Street Market everywhere. So check them out, please. Okay, that's all.
Very sick. Well, yeah, all of the stuff that Dahl has mentioned will be in the description of the video or in the show notes. But yeah, thank you so much, and I'll let you
Thank
start
you.
your day, and I'm gonna start wrapping up my day.
Yes, and enjoy your day. Enjoy the snow for me.
For you, okay, definitely.
For
Yeah.
me.